Hello, welcome back to Tammy's Beauty Tutorials. Today we are changing up things a bit, and instead of doing a live for Murder Makeup and Mayhem, we are recording it because I just wanted to see how, I just wanted to change it up and see how you guys like it. Let me know. I want to know your thoughts. And if you haven't done it already and subscribed to my channel, please do so. And hit that notification bell so you know when I upload. Alright, because that really just is nice. It's a nice thing to do. Anyway, and also, if you like my content, hit the like button, because I apparently cannot talk. Which will probably be a running theme, because there's names and towns and things that I cannot pronounce. And words are hard, and so don't come at me. No, because, I just can't say certain things. Anyway, so today's Murder, Makeup, and Mayhem is, it's just a bad story. And it's about a bad man. I mean, there's just no easy way to say it. He's a bad person. And there's a lot of things, and it's kind of gruesome. And if you don't like gruesome stories, this is probably not for you. So, yeah. So, Robert Lee Yates. Do you know him? I don't think you want to know him. He's horrible, horrible person. Anyway, Robert Lee Yates. He was born. Let me get some makeup started, because otherwise we'll be here all night. We will be here for a while, because this is, I'm doing my makeup and telling the story, so it might take a while. Robert Lee Yates was born May 27th. 1952. Side note, that was the same year as my parents. Just saying. It must have been a good year. Actually, his birthday's really close to my dad's. That's kind of funny. I just realized that. Anyway, so he was from Spokane, Washington. And once again, I probably did not say that right. I am so sorry. And he was a serial killer. He started around 1975. Those like when his first kill was, but mainly he was in 1988 through 1996 through 1998. Anyway, so his victims were between 16 through 18 plus, give or take, because they don't know if they got them all or if all was his, if he confessed to everybody. Anyways, so that, and his day of arrest was April 20th, 2000, and his sentence to death is October 3rd, 2002. And we'll kind of get into the background. Okay, so on October 4th, 2002, the Pierce County Court sentenced Robert E. Yates Jr. sentenced to death for murders of Melinda Mercer, 24, and Connie LaFont Ellis, 1998. So that's what he was sentenced to death for. but we'll get into all that. Okay, now let's get in to, the background info. Because I feel like that's super important. But hold on one second, let me grab something. Okay, just grabbing my moisturizer. Anyway, because for some reason I keep on forgetting it. That's besides the point. Okay, so Yates, I thought this was actually answered. Yates grew up in Oak Harbor, Washington. He was a middle-class family. His family attended church, but something that I thought was really interesting, before he was born, his grandmother murdered his grandfather with an axe. I mean, so did that kind of run in the family, like the murderous, like, I mean, the crazy kind of run in the family? I mean, I'm just curious. Because that's like the only thing that really went into his background. Because like some serial killers had a really messed up childhood, but it didn't really say anything like about his mom and his dad, and they were just really religious. They attended church. He graduated from Oak Harbor High School in 1975. He was hired at the Washington State Department of Correction, and he worked that about at the penitentiary at Walla Walla. He worked it about 6 months, and then he decided to quit that, and he went into the military. He enlisted in the United States Army. He was certified to fly airplanes, helicopters, and he also got married. Yay! Congratulations. He was married to her from 1972 until 1974, so it didn't work out for him. Boo. And his lovely wife was Shirley Nylander. Maybe that's how you say it. Who knows? But don't cry for him for too long. He got remarried again in 1974. So apparently, yeah, he wasn't too sad about Shirley. He rebounded really quickly. So he remarried really quickly to Linda Brewer. And then they had 4 daughters and a son. So, always wonder, this is just me thinking about their poor families, like when all the shit hits the fan, how do they feel? Like their kids and like their wife, like when they find out that this psychopath that they've been living with forever is like completely a lunatic and has done these horrible things, like under their noses. Like, do you think they're like, I don't know. I just think that's weird. Is this in anybody else? No? Okay. That's just where my mind goes. Anyway, so he had a 19-year military career. He received many medals, 3 Army Achievement Medals, 3 Army Commendation Medals, 2 Armed Forces Expeditionary Medals. And Yates left the military before he got his pension and his benefits. Was the word I was looking for. But that was okay because they ended up giving him it anyway, because there was something going on with the military that made that they ended up giving it to him. And so all was fine, and he got it, and he was good to go. And then he joined the Army Reserves, and so he left active duty April 1996, and then he joined Army National Guards April 1997, and he served for 3 years and until his arrest. So he was in the reserves while he was doing horrible, horrible things. And he was also, he's very good with a rifle, and like he was a marksman, which is very, very sad. Okay. So, now that we know about Yates, let's talk about the other people in this horrible story. The murder victims and like what happened to them. So the first ones was in 1975. It was just this young couple. They were picnicking. It was Susan Savage, 22, and Patrick Oliver, 21. You know, they're just picnicking at Mill Creek. Yates was just practicing some shooting, and yeah, he shot Patrick Oliver 3 times in the head, and Susan he shot twice, and he left their bodies under a brush pile. Just, you know, I guess he thought, why not see? They were great target. I don't know. He was creepy. And it took 25 years before the family found out what happened to them and who did it. So they had absolutely no justice for their loved ones for that long. I just think that's horrible. And I think he's horrible. Okay. Okay. So I was getting papers. Situating my notes. Anyway. So the other murders, he killed them in 1975, and then he starts it all up again. So, July 7th, 1988. 23-year-old Stacey Elizabeth Han from Seattle. She was a prostitute. She was the first prostitute known to be killed. So this was like the first one that was known. And 5 months later, she was found out Saget County, outside of Mount Vernon. Okay. I have no idea where these places are. So Stacey was shot in the head, and she was first listed as the Green River Killer. And then Yates later confessed to her murder, and said it was him. But it was basically to like avoid the death penalty. Because, yeah. So then next, and I'm sorry, this is like, some of these, you'll start seeing a pattern in all of these. He definitely had, like a lot of serial killers, definitely had a pattern, and he definitely had a pattern. Okay, so Jennifer Joseph, she was age 16. She was found August 26, 1997. She was in a secluded spot, corner of Forker and Jukins Road, and she was killed at close range. A gunshot to the chest. DNA there was semen left on her, and it was a match to Yates later on, and buttons was also found from Yates Corvette, and it was matched to Jennifer, and so it was matched to Joseph. Jennifer Joseph. I don't know why I'm having such a hard time talking. And then samples of her DNA was given to the police, and that was matched. You know, all that was matched. And so, yeah. So then Darla Scott was next and was found November 5th, 1997. Hangman Valley Road. 2 plastic bags were over her head, and she was found in a shallow grave. And her cause of death was 2 gunshots to the head. And DNA was matched to Yates, of course. I mean, are we surprised? Of course not. Of course not. And then December 7th, a body of 24-year-old Melinda L. Mercer was found. She was found at 5th Street, Tacoma, and with 4 plastic bags covering her head and shot 3 times. And then the body of Sean L. Johnson, 36, was found December 18th, 1997. And found on Hangman Valley Road, 2 plastic bags covering her head and 2 gunshots to the head, and semen sample matched to Yates. So definitely, I mean, he definitely had like a pattern. A 31-year-old Laura Watson's body found December 26th, 1997, and in a gravel pit near Hangman Valley Road. Her head was covered with 3 plastic bags, and she died of 2 gunshots to the head, and there was debris on top of her that matched Yates's yard. And then there was semen found in her body that matched Yates. Big surprise, right? He's gross. Super gross. Anyways, so then there's Sonny G. Oyster. I cannot talk. 41, found February 8, 1998. Found in a wooded area, western Spokane County, and have the hallmarks of Yates's murders. 3 plastic bags covering the head, 2 gunshots to the head. Yates's semen found on her body. Okay. He's a jerk. I just think he's horrible. Then 34-year-old Linda Mabin found May 1st, 1998, 50 yards from the same grave as Watson and McClannon's gravesite. 2 plastic bags covering her head and 1 gunshot to the head, and the semen was, of course, a match to who, Yates. Then the next victim was found July 7th, 1998, to 47-year-old prostitute Michaelin Darren, found under a bath cover in an area that prostitutes frequent, and she had a gunshot wound to the head. Unlike his other victims, she was seen alive like the week before she was murdered, and before her body was discovered, and the others were found weeks or sometimes months after they disappeared, and she had not been raped. And the murder happened where she was found, so he did not move her body or anything, and so that was a lot different than his others ones. So she was like a little different. And then Connie LaFontaine Ellis, 35, found October 13th, 1998. In a ditch, 1700 block of 108th Street, south of Tacoma. 3 plastic bags covered her head. Suffered a gunshot wound to the head. Melody Ann Murfin, 43, disappeared in 1998, and she regularly included in the Spokaton's serial killer victims list because her body was found October 18th, 2002, because it was buried in his side yard. This is so disturbing. Okay, so he buried it in the side yard when his wife was sleeping, and he wanted to bury it there so he could look out the yard and see it every day because he wanted to like see her every day. Is that not weird? Okay, so Christine L. Smith, 32. She was robbed and assaulted by a man in a van on August 1st, 1998. Smith was grazed by a gunshot to the head, managed to escape, and reported to the police. Yes, she got away. Yes. I'm so excited. I'm like, yay. Okay, so Smith agreed. This is what she told the police. So she agreed to $40 for a BJ in the back of Yates's black van. And there was a mattress in the back of the van. And, so she asked him if he was the psycho killer killing all the prostitutes. And he's like, I'm not the killer. I have 5 kids. I would not do that. Like, that makes a difference. I mean, okay. Moving on. Yates did not. So she's giving him a BJ, and he's not getting excited and not getting hard, and so then he shoots her, and it grazed her head instead of killing her, and so she was fighting from blacking out, and she would manage to stay awake and to escape. And so she gets away, she goes to the police, and she makes a police report and all that, and she points out his picture in the mugshot, and then the police get all the evidence because the bullet fragments are in the van, there's blood, and yeah, he gets arrested. Yeah. I get really excited about that. And that was my dog running down the stairs. Brownie had to make an appearance. She's really... Anyway. So, we're going to kind of go over a little bit of everything, like little tidbits of like the other murders, because I just kind of went through all of them all at one time. So Yates committed between 1975 and 1998 in Spokane, involving sex workers, and they worked kind of like the East Sprague Avenue. I have no clue where this is. And he would solicit for sex. He would have sex with them, and he would also, in his 1979 Ford van, he would do drugs with them, and then he would kill them and dump their bodies, and he would put plastic bags over their head. He's weird. He's a weirdo. Anyways, moving on. The victims would die. Gunshot wounds to the head, and 8 of the murders were committed with the same kind of gun, and Raven 25 caliber. And then it was the same handgun. The autopsies of 2 of the victims indicated that the killer was a marksman aiming for the heart. And yeah, so on September 19th, 1998, Yates was asked to give a DNA sample, and he refused, stating that he was a family man. Like, I'm a family man. I can't. Like, I'm not gonna give a DNA sample because I'm a family man. Like, do you think the cops just started laughing at him and like, oh yeah, that's a good excuse. Yeah, we're totally gonna buy that. Yep, because no family man has ever committed a crime. Yep. Yes, sir, family man. Yep. Okay. That sounds like a good... That's good. Yep. Okay, so Yates was arrested on April 18th, 2000 for the murder of Jennifer Joseph. So that's what they got him, one of the murders they got him on. There were so many more to come. I think that was just kind of like the first. And then they kept on finding out more, and they just kept on adding. And anyway, so after the arrest, the search warrant for his car was carried out. And okay, so then there was a little problem with that, because it wasn't like, it didn't say the right make and model of the vehicle. Because it was said, so one thing said it was a Camaro instead of a Corvette. It was a 1977 Corvette, and the paperwork said a Camaro, so they had to wait till the arrest to get it right so that they could serve it correctly. So that was kind of stupid on their part, but whatever. They ended up actually, when they ended up getting it, they did find blood samples of Joseph in the car, and it was indeed a match. So there you go. And the vehicle was identified, last seen with the victims, that they were getting into that vehicle. So so that was another thing that tied him to that car and tied the victims to that car. Then they tied 12 other murder victims to him, and then 2000 he was charged with 13 counts of first degree in Spokane County Supreme Court. Which, good riddance. I mean, really couldn't happen to a nicer guy. I mean, I really, you can tell I just really don't like him. Anyways, so he ended a plea bargain. He confessed to the murders to avoid the death penalty. He was like, okay, I'll tell you everything as long as you guys don't kill me. So he took the plea. But then he was sentenced to 408 years in prison, and charges were dropped from the murders and of Sean McCallan, however, and Yates apologized to her family and other murder victims. Do you think they were like, I mean, I don't know. I mean, do you think they're like, yeah, he feels so bad. Oh, yeah, he's such a stand-up guy. Thanks for apologizing. I don't know. I don't think I would be like, he doesn't feel bad. Okay. In 2001, Yates was charged in Pierce County with 2 additional women's murders. The prosecution did seek the death penalty. They were like, we're going to let him try. They were like, nope, we're coming after him. They're like, he's not going to plead out this time. Nope. Nope, nope, nope. They were like, we're getting him this time. They did not care. And so September 19th, 2000, Yates was convicted of those murders and sentenced to death by lethal injection on October 3rd, 2002. So he was convicted of those. And then in 2002, the death sentence was appealed on grounds that Yates believed that his plea bargain should applied and basically count, and I didn't really he just thought that it shouldn't, for the 13 murders, the life sentence and the death sentence, for the disproportional, freakish, wanted and random application of death penalty. So they wanted to, they just thought that he needed to get, that's why he thought he needed to get out of it, because that he took the plea. I don't know. I didn't understand that part of it. But then it was completely rejected by Washington Supreme Court. And then September 19th, he was, the execution date was stayed by the Chief Justice, Gary L. Alexander, but they were still pending for any additional appeals. And then in 2013, Yates' attorney filed a habeas corpus petition, basically saying that, that he was he was not mentally stable through no fault of his own, that he suffered from paraphiliac disorder, which he was prepositioned to, and to commit murder, and that should exclude him from receiving the death penalty. Which paraphiliac is known as a sexual perversion and sexual deviant in experiencing intense sexual arousal to a typical object and situation and fantasy and behavior to individuals. But sorry, it's so hard to do eyeliner. Okay, but then they were saying it was a long shot. They don't think Mr. Yates actually helps, since his cause of relying on the fact that he's a neurophiliac, said the Pierce County prosecutor, Mark Lundquist. And a neurophiliac is a sexual attraction toward a sexual act involving a corpse. Okay. So, July 15th, 2015, Washington Supreme Court once again rejects any effort for him to get. They're like, no, you're done. Anyway, so they reject it, any efforts by Yates to overturn his conviction and the death penalty. But then in 2018, Washington Supreme Court rules that death penalty and violated the state constitution, and that Yates' death sentence, as well as other Washington death row inmates, are commuted to life in prison without possibility of parole. So Yates is just setting life in prison without parole. And that is the horror. It's kind of like the whole story about him. It's like pretty awful. Like, I don't even know. I mean, it's just pretty, it's just gross. Like, that's the only thing I can think of. Like, he's gross. Like, reading it, I was like, ew. Ew. And then his poor wife and kids. Anyway, so let me know if you guys liked me recording this better, or if you like the live better. Let me know in the comments. And also, if you have any suggestions of anybody you want to see next, let me know. If you like this style of videos, please give this a thumbs up. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.